You're tuned into the 25th Hour radio show. I'm your host, Rob Fairless. On behalf of my co-hosts, Randy Ashby and Robert Reams, we would like to welcome you to today's program. Today on the show, we have Shannon Lee, daughter of legendary martial artist Bruce Lee. Shannon, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
I'm doing very well.
Wonderful.
Shannon, yeah. Shannon, we all know you're a very busy person, so let's just get right down to the interview, if that's okay.
Okay.
Oh, man. Growing up as a daughter of Bruce Lee, you know, the most famous martial artist of all time, when did you first start realizing the cultural impact your father had on society?
Gosh, you know, I think it would have to be, you know, certainly as a kid I knew that my father was famous. You know, not everybody's father's in movies and that sort of thing. But I knew he was known, but I guess I didn't really realize the cultural impact and sort of the global reach of it until I was a bit older, probably in my 20s, more when I was traveling more and starting to be out in the world a little bit more myself is when I started to realize, wow, you know, no matter where I go in the world, people seem to know who he is and people seem to have been affected by him in some way. Mm-hmm. So I think it was more when I got out into the world a little bit more as an adult that I started to realize the impact that my father had. And I'm always sort of, you know, changing my relationship to that all the time. I'm constantly reminded of how many people he's affected, even to this day.
At what point in your life did you take a more active role, you know, in preserving your father's legacy?
I really stepped in terms of, well, I should say, you know, I have an organization that I'm on the board of directors of called the Bruce Lee Foundation. Prior to that, the foundation existed in a slightly different form, and it was called the Bruce Lee Educational Foundation. And that was formed in 1996, and I sat on the board of that, and that was sort of my first foray into being a part of something that whose job it was to sort of preserve and perpetuate my father's legacy in some form. But it wasn't until late 2000 that I, you know, really stepped in and started looking after things in a business perspective. And, you know, my mom had been doing it for a lot of years, and she was looking to retire and just go on and enjoy life. She still, of course, consults with me to this day because there are a lot of questions that only Mom knows the answer to. Mm-hmm. But it was late 2000 when I really, really started taking a very proactive role.
What, can you explain to our listeners what exactly the Bruce Lee Foundation is?
Yeah, the Bruce Lee Foundation, so the current iteration of the Bruce Lee Foundation was formed in 2002, and it's a nonprofit, it's a public charity. Its goal is to preserve and perpetuate my father's legacy for generations, and we do this through an educational means primarily. We have a scholarship program. We do educational outreach to schools and different types of organizations, and our long-term goal is to build the Bruce Lee Action Museum and put it in Seattle, Washington. And, yeah, so we're very excited about that. The Bruce Lee Action Museum, you know, the idea behind it is that it's a place of continuing education and inspiration and community. We don't really want it to be just a memorabilia museum, although, of course, all the cool memorabilia will be there, but we really want it to look at my father's legacy of action and taking action, you know, not just martial arts and action films, but social and cultural actions and philosophical actions that he took in his life and that sort of thing. So,
well, that sounds really cool. What year? How soon do you think that might come about?
Well, we're looking at sites. We're at the very beginning of the process. We're looking at sites right now, trying to locate the appropriate property to put it, and I've been going up to Seattle a lot because I live in Los Angeles and traveling up there a lot. And we're having our first major fundraiser on February 9th, 2013. And so, once we procure a site, which we hope to do in the next 6 to 9 months, then we'll start, gathering the funds and what we need in order to build the actual space. So, it's a few years away is my guess, but we're very, very actively pursuing it. So,
do you think your father, do you think Bruce has passed on to you his drive, his energy, and that has helped you succeed in managing the multiple businesses and foundations that you're involved in today?
I certainly aspire to have the kind of energy that he had.
Mm-hmm. We all do.
Yeah, exactly. I think that more what he passed on to me is, I think his drive and his energy is in a lot of ways unmatched. It's certainly not matched by me. I can tell you on Saturday morning when I'm feeling worked over from the week, I'm not, jumping up and doing 1,000 sit-ups, although I could benefit from it.
Yeah.
But I think what he passed on to me more than that is the belief in pursuing my own path and trying to do my best in spite of insurmountable obstacles or people saying you can't do it, or and believing in your own ideas and basically finding my own way in life. And so when I do start to get a little overwhelmed with everything, I try to focus on the here and now and just worry about what's right before me as opposed to what's 70 steps down the road. And that usually helps quite a bit. So.
Awesome. Hey, Randy, got a couple questions for Shannon?
Oh, yeah. Hello, Shannon.
Hi.
Well, let me just ask you, how much are you involved in the martial arts community today? And do you see anybody out there that even comes close to having the passion for the craft as your father did?
I think there are a lot of people who have a lot of passion for the martial arts. But I don't know if anybody really exhibits it in exactly the same kind of way that he did. I did practice martial arts for many, many years. I haven't been as dedicated to it in the last few years as I have been previously, just with the different businesses and with raising my daughter. But I do continue to practice here and there. And I'm obviously always in touch with the martial arts community just because of, my father being who he is, and, our businesses do cross paths, and the foundation does seminars in Jeet Kune Do and that kind of thing. So I keep in touch with the martial arts community, even though I wouldn't say I'm, out there really super actively participating at this point in time. I think a lot of people have passion, as I was saying, but I don't think that I don't know if people really apply themselves the way that he applied himself. And I think what made my dad really special was that he talked the talk and he walked the walk, if you will. Mm-hmm. He really tried to put into action his beliefs and to push himself to, have no limits and to be open to, all sorts of different possibilities. And he had this amazing work ethic that I certainly can't live up to.
It seems like today they've lost basically the spiritual aspect. It's not as much as Bruce was a very spiritual person, was he not?
He was, and when people use the word spiritual, sometimes the way I look at it is my father was very much on a journey of self-discovery. And I think that that he was spiritual in terms of tapping into this huge pool of giving expression to this huge pool of energy, of creative energy and life force within himself. And I think it was really beautiful the way that he injected philosophy into the physicality of his life at every turn. And I really think that that's what philosophy is. It's really meant to be lived, not just pontificated on.
But Shannon, you actually had the opportunity to perform the national anthem at a San Francisco Giants game. What was that experience like, and has music always been a part of your life?
I have a degree in music. I have a fine arts degree in vocal performance, so I'm a classically trained singer. I've sung opera and musical theater and all that kind of thing. I've had jobs as a singer. I've also done some recording and things like that. But I haven't ever really done it full-time as even as a hobby. Certainly not as a business, but, you know, it was a really great opportunity to get to sing the national anthem because, you know, it's one for a singer. I think it's one of those bucket list items, you know, to get to sing the national anthem at some major event, and so it was really fun. It was nerve-wracking, I'll tell you that.
The national anthem, actually, the national anthem is a very hard song to sing, actually, is what I heard anyway.
It is, and everybody in my I know, and everybody in my office kept saying, "Oh, look at this top 10 list of people who have messed up the national anthem." I was like, "Thanks a lot, you guys."
Was Roseanne Barr the number one on the list?
Yes, of course. But yeah, it was nerve-wracking, but it was fun. I got through it.
Well, you've been involved in film, starring in multiple movies. At what age did you realize that you wanted to be an actress, and were action movies your first choice?
Action movies were not my first choice. My brother and I had that in common. We both enjoyed the art of acting just for the art of acting, separate and apart from doing martial arts. But as the case for me, as was for him as well, we both were obviously corralled in that direction because of our last names. But you know, it's funny. I was Brandon's personal assistant when he did the film Rapid Fire. And so I would, you know, he would call me up and say, you know, bring me this to the set or pick up my dry cleaning or what have you. And we ended up hanging out quite a bit. And it was at that time, I was living in New Orleans at the time, and I had come to work for him during the filming, during the summer. We were hanging out a lot, and I said, you know, I really want to move back to Los Angeles. I've been thinking about getting into acting. And he said, if there's anything else you would rather do, you should probably do that instead.
Oh, no.
But then he said, but if you really want to do it, of course, you should pursue that, and I would help you in any way that I can, and all of that. And so I went, after the film was over and my job ended, I went back to New Orleans, and I decided I was going to move to LA, and I was going to try my hand at acting and see what that was all about. And then, of course, he was killed in The Crow. So I did end up coming to Los Angeles. I'd already planned to move there, and I did go ahead and pursue an acting career, but of course it was under much different circumstances and under this sort of, you know, haze of grief and difficult emotions. And so it wasn't exactly the great beginnings of an acting career that I had hoped for, but but it was. I'm really happy that I did it, that I followed through in that, and it's something that I consider turning back to occasionally.
Well, let me ask you one more question because I know Robert Reams has probably got some questions for you. What's a typical day like for Shannon Lee, man?
It's not as glamorous as you would think. A typical day, I also don't know if there are any days that are very typical, but for the most part, I'm a single parent, so I get up early in the morning, I make breakfast, I feed my dogs, I make myself breakfast, I pack lunch, I get my daughter together, I take her to school, and then I come straight into the office and I work on a variety of different things. I have the Bruce Lee Foundation, which is the nonprofit side of things. I have Bruce Lee Enterprises, which is our licensing business, and also Leeway Media Group, which is my production company, and I've got, a multitude of different things going on at any given time, and I work until my daughter is out of school, and then I leave and I go pick her up, and I'm with her until she goes to bed, and then I work some more. And if I manage to keep my eyes open, I watch something I've recorded on TiVo, and then I go to bed.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I travel around the world and do all that sorts of stuff too. But for the most part, that's what a typical day is like.
Do you got any particular shows you're following on TiVo?
Yes. I am a big fan of Fringe. I like Boardwalk Empire. I'm watching Dexter right now. I like a lot of the HBO and Showtime shows. I watch. I'm just thinking of what's on right this second. And I like to watch a little reality if it's a good reality, like a Project Runway or something like that, or Top Chef or something like that.
No Flavor of Love or Rock? What's the one with Bret Michaels?
Rock of Love.
Rock of Love, yeah.
No.
I'm sorry, that wasn't on the question.
That's okay. You can ask me whatever you like.
Well, speaking of asking you some stuff, Robert Reams, I know you got some questions for Shannon.
I sure do. How you doing, Shannon?
I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. What has been the most rewarding experiences you've had in the entertainment business or just in life in general?
Rewarding. Certainly being a parent has been very rewarding, very difficult, but also has given a lot of focus and meaning to my life, and just such a life-changing experience that is hard to understand until you do it. That would probably be number one. In terms of the entertainment business, what was a really great experience for me, even though it wasn't a great movie, was working, doing a Hong Kong action film. I did a film called Enter the Eagles that was for Golden Harvest. It was one of the last films they did as a studio, and that was such a different experience than working in the Hollywood system, and just sort of being like thrown in, right into the middle of pure and utter chaos. but it was terrific. I mean, there was no script. We never practiced or rehearsed any choreography or scenes. You would just show up and they'd say something like this. Okay, now do this action scene. Oh, you can't jump off a ladder from that height? Okay, how about, it was like, it was just really like guerrilla filmmaking, but it was really hard at the time, but it was such a rewarding experience. It really made me feel like I could do anything after that. So.
Yeah. So, when it's all said and done, what do you have hoped to have accomplished in your life?
Well, I'm
sure there's so many things, but
yeah. Well, build a museum. No, it's one of those things, and I don't know if it's because I'm Bruce Lee's kid, or if it's just how I am personality-wise, or or what have you. But I'm very hard on myself when it comes to accomplishments, what I consider an accomplishment versus maybe what someone else might consider an accomplishment. I have kind of high standards. So I really like to focus more on, I consider to have been successful in some of the choices I've made. It's really more about the choices than the accomplishments and the paths I've chosen to take and the roads I've chosen to walk down. And, whenever I make a decision, that's maybe not the easiest decision to make, but it's for the right reasons. I feel a sense of I don't know if it's so much accomplishment as much as just integrity and living up to my own personal beliefs and my own personal journey. Certainly I'd like to have accomplished lots of things. I'd love to have an Academy Award. I'd love to,
See on the 26-hour radio show?
Exactly. Check that one off the list.
Yeah, that's off the bucket list.
There it is.
Yeah,
there are lots of things like that, places I'd like to go, things I'd like to leave behind, make sure keep my father's legacy going, have some of my own creative projects that I do, those types of things. But in terms of just leading my life in the way that is important to me, I think that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, Robert?
Yeah,
the Robert?
Shannon, the Robert. Is there anything on the horizon? I know we spoke about the museum and such, but is there anything else that you'd like to discuss or promote, such as social media, Twitter, anything like that?
Yeah, we do all that sort of stuff. For anyone who wants to know more about the museum or the events coming up, we have BruceLeeFoundation.org. We're going to be launching a website for the museum next month as well at BruceLeeActionMuseum.org. We have a Facebook page, Facebook.com/Bruce Lee. We're on Twitter at Bruce Lee Legacy. And we're always doing fun stuff on Facebook and Twitter. We're having contests and asking people to write in and put captions to pictures and things like that. And we have our website at brucelee.com, and we have lots of fun things coming up. Next year is going to be a big year because 2013 is the 40th anniversary of Enter the Dragon, as well as the 40th anniversary of my father's passing. Warner Brothers is going to be releasing a 40th anniversary Enter the Dragon DVD on Blu-ray, and we're putting together some great, bonus materials for that and things like that. So there's always a lot going on. If people follow us on our social media, they'll definitely be kept up to speed. So
I'll definitely be picking up that DVD, that's for sure.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I already got the DVD. I got the regular version.
I'm talking about the special edition.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I want to go to the museum when it gets done.
I know. I'm working on it. We are going to have a temporary exhibit at the Hong Kong Heritage Museum in Hong Kong. That's going to open next year. And we're also going to have a temporary exhibit at the Wing Luk Museum in Seattle, which is in Seattle's Chinatown area, International District area, as well, in advance of our getting our own museum up and running. So, if you're in Hong Kong.
If you're in Hong Kong, make sure you check that out. Well, Shannon, we thank you for being on our show, and you're always welcome to come back. It's been our pleasure. Randy, you got any final words for Shannon?
I couldn't have said it any better. Shannon, it's been a real pleasure getting to talk to you on the phone. I mean, I've had butterflies the whole time I'm sitting here talking to you.
Well, it's very nice. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been fun speaking with you guys and, just getting to talk a little bit about everything. And if you ever have any more questions, just let me know.
Okay.
Awesome.
Good luck in everything you do, Shannon.
Thank you so much. You as well.
Okay. This has been the 25th Hour Radio Show. Join us Wednesday. We have author Gordon Rakusa on our show, and until then, for Randy Ashby and Robert Reams, I am Robert Fairless, and we will talk to you later.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.